Thank you so much, Robert. You're the director of Twin Towers Legacy. Thank you so much
My
for being
pleasure.
here on the
Thank you for having
channel.
me.
Yeah, so for those of us who weren't basically around when Twin Towers, the first part was came out, what can you tell us so that we can get on to speed to Twin Towers Legacy?
Sure. So back in 2001, I had an idea to do a documentary on one of my best friends. He was a superhero cop in the NYPD. He had been shot 2 times in the line of duty. And I got this crazy idea. I'll just follow him around for a year and see what happens. It will make an interesting film. Unfortunately, the last time we were together, just when filming wrapped was September 8th, which was obviously 3 days before the events of 9/11. We said goodbye. We hugged and kissed goodbye like we always do. He told me to have a safe flight and call him when I got home. And the film itself went on to win an Oscar for short documentary, not the way you want to win an Academy Award. But I stay close to the family. And at the time, his boys, he had 3 children, 6 months, 6 years, and 8 years. And his wife, his widow, Kathy, worked in the same precinct, the 7-5 in Brooklyn that he had. She's still the toughest cop I ever met. And she wanted those boys to go out, grow up and become doctors, lawyers, accountants, but they felt the calling. They joined the Marine Corps. They joined the NYPD. And it all sort of coincided with the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And it just felt like the right time to follow up and do a film that my intent was always to make it inspirational, to sort of from the ashes, right, rises to Phoenix, to see what these boys, these men, um, did with their lives and how they decided to follow in their mom and dad's footsteps, and how through it, they also got closer to their father.
Yeah, well, I was watching the documentary. I could feel all of that throughout the images, throughout the animation, throughout the different testimonies from people that work uh with Mr. Vigiano.
Yes.
So I think it's really good that we're getting now to see like the sequel, and the sequel it's a lot more hopeful in terms of showing us that there's still something more to be done. And I think that watching Villano's kids now being professionals and working with uh, the law enforcement and different areas of security has impacted them to become better persons.
Yes, absolutely. I think they themselves, I'm not going to speak for them, but you've seen the film and they're very open about it. Um, to them, there's nothing else they would rather be doing on this earth. It's not a job. I think they wouldn't call it a calling. They're too humble, but I'll call it a calling. And the other thing I should point out that they would never say about themselves is they're both phenomenal at it. You speak to their superiors, you speak to the top echelon of the NYPD, and these two Vigiano boys have to follow in enormous footsteps. Their father was incredibly well decorated. They have that burden on their shoulder. They never talk about it, but I know they feel it and they excel. And they're both just outstanding individuals. I've been on, God, I don't know, maybe a thousand calls with the two of them. And I mean, you saw the access I had. And they're just so caring and they're so calm and they remind me so much of their dad that it's great. They have an amazing sense of humor. They're fearless, they're confident, and they just want to get home and hug and kiss their babies. So
Yeah. So I wanted to know what lesson did you learn while making this new film, Twin Towers Legacy? What did you learn that you didn't expect that it would change the way you were telling their story?
that's a great question. Wow, no one's asked me that yet. I think the thing that I probably learned the most, or the thing that educated me the most, was the difference in the NYPD and in policing in 2025 versus when I made the film 24 years ago. Back then, there were no body cameras. There was sort of a more stoic. This is what cops do. Today, these young men and women um, are evolved in an entirely different way. They're all college educated. They've all been out in the world. There's not an ethnicity that you can name that you do not see on a nightly basis in an NYPD uniform. Every single country on earth, every race is represented, every religion. And I also wasn't expecting to see, and that's wonderful, how comfortable they all are on camera. And they're amazing, not just them, but their comrades. And I attribute that because they all grew up with these things, right? These iPhones filming each other. So they don't think of being on camera is no big deal. They all grew up on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Previously, when I did this, you put a camera and oh, people would get self-conscious. But they're so comfortable with that. They all wear the body cameras, and for them, that's an asset. So that was really the biggest thing that I had to get used to was just how good they are at this, and I didn't want it to come off as too polished, but they just naturally were so comfortable that it definitely took a little bit of sort of adjusting for me to get used to it.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I feel like the documentary is gonna hit on like so many people because it just feels like so organic. It doesn't feel like it's something that was let's say like prefabricated or anything like that. It just feels natural, organic, and a lot of people are going to be able to see not only what Joe did during his time, but also what his kids are doing, his wife. And at the end of the day, I feel like it's a hopeful film. Even
Thank
though
you.
we have all that background, which is uh sad, and to some of us it might be even a little bit scary, but I feel it's gonna do a lot of positive impact on people.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Every interview, I mean, the beauty of doing this film and having the relationships with these people, it's not that I saw them every day, but when I call Debbie Pacho, when I call Kathy, when I call Monsignor Romano, it was simply, can you show up for an interview? Yes, Rob. There were no questions sent ahead of time. They all trusted me. Danny Cohn, Bobby Yeager. It was just show up and let's do it. And because um, there is a 20 some odd year rapport between these folks and myself. Nobody knew what I was going to ask them, but they all trusted me. And so, to your point, it was authentic. And the stuff you see in the car, that's real, man. The NYPD put no boundaries on me, as you could tell. We were right there in the thick of things. And they just trusted me, thankfully, to just make a film that was, they never said to me, okay, cut this or that. Nope. All they said was, go make a beautiful film, show it all. And that's hopefully what we accomplished.
Yeah. So, Robert, last question.
Yes, sir.
What do you think will be your next project?
Wow, that's a great question. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I do a lot of scripted stuff. I've got a feature film I'm writing right now for Lionsgate, but in the documentary world, um, I want to do something that is historical in nature. I have a couple of ideas, but I want to do something that's atypical but still involves law enforcement. I'm very fascinated with looking at you're the first person I told this to. I'm extremely fascinated looking at how law enforcement in our country went from being segregated to being desegregated. And I'm trying to find enough officers that are still alive from the 50s and 40s and 60s when that happened. That's sort of what I would love to do if I can find the proper people.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be another good project because it's going to shine a light on a topic that many of us may not think about, but are important to the development of security and hope and
Yes.
just our well-being. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
your
I
time.
appreciate your time. Great questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.